Hey, everybody, welcome back to the most segregated hour. I am your co host today, Pastor Michael. I'm back from sabbatical. Had a great time. Thorin has been holding it down since I've been gone, and he's been doing a great job kind of leading our series. We've been diverting a little bit, kind of interviewing some of our global mission partners. So it's been really cool to kind of hear their story and just see how God is moving around the world. So since Thorin has been doing an awesome job at this, I told him since I just came back, I'm rusty. He's going to take the reins for this. He's already got a system down. Uh, so I'm excited today that we have Robin and Yoko White who serve in Japan. And we're going to hear about their story, kind of how they got into the mission field, and just kind of the awesome ways that they're reaching out to lost people in Japan. So, Thorin, take it away.
All right. Well, it's great to have you back, Pastor Michael. As I kept saying, we don't know where he is, but he's around here somewhere. He's gonna be back, and he's back. Robin and Yoko, it's
I've been
great to
watching in
see
the
you.
background. Don't worry.
He's been around. Don't worry, and he is back and refreshed with that extra level of holiness from that sabbatical. But Robin and Yoko, it's so great to see you. I got to meet you, of course, a couple weeks ago when you were here. But it's thank you again just for agreeing to this, for being on here. How you guys doing today?
Good, very good. We enjoyed our visit to
Great.
KCC a couple weeks ago, and yeah, we're in Canada now, but
Canada. Very
Okay,
good.
yeah.
not too
Go
far.
further north.
A wild
Good.
land, I've heard.
Yeah,
Oh,
good to be here. Thanks.
yeah. So for our listeners at home, the first question that we would like to ask is just tell us, many of us listeners have already known, having met you, having seen you a couple weeks ago, but for those who perhaps have not, could you tell us where you serve, who you serve, and how you are serving?
Sure.
Where? Okay. We live in Japan and our area is called Ishikawa Prefecture. The place is facing towards Asia. So we call Japan seaside, not Pacific Ocean side.
So we're on the opposite coast to where all the famous things are.
Yeah, and our location is in the central of Japan main island.
Yeah. So we serve in Japan, and what was the other question? Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. So just, who are you serving specifically, if there is a specific, and how you are serving them?
Yes, we serve as global partners missionaries in Japan, and as Yoko said, we live in Ishikawa, and we lead a ministry called Drawbridge Creations, which is a ministry using manga. We create manga to build spiritual bridges with the lost. So we create manga, share them online, and try to connect with people who don't know Jesus.
Manga is comic, Japanese comic.
Japanese comics. Yeah, thank you. Yes, so for those of you who maybe have not heard the term manga, this isn't some, super esoteric, weird
Yeah.
thing. This is just comics, and it is incredibly mainstream and popular in Japan, and is a staple of Japanese culture. So thank you for sharing that. Just leading into almost immediately into the next, we'll talk about your journey into the mission field in a little bit, but just so from what you told me and from what you told the church a couple weeks ago when you were here, you are focused on providing resources for churches that are already present to help them further spread the gospel as well, correct?
Yes, that's right. So we're kind of reaching out directly to non-Christians online, trying to build an audience that way, but also providing the online platform as a tool for Christians in Japan to share their faith. And also we've done some print resources as well. We have some little cards with our link on them that people can hand out, like kind of like tracts to share the gospel, to share their faith with people. Just linking to they link directly to our manga website. Yoko just pulled one of those cards out there.
Oh, very nice.
For
Very
those
nice.
watching the video.
Very nice.
And you can
Very
see the
nice.
QR code on there. So that QR code goes directly to our manga website, which is all Bible-based manga that's written with a non-Christian Audience and Wine. That's at waypoints.jp. We also did recently a print version of one of our stories as something churches and missionaries could give out as well. And so those are some of the ways we're resourcing the church right now.
Yeah, by the way, you can read our comics in English too.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
waypoints.jp/English will get you to the English site.
Yeah.
Waypoints.jp/English will lead you to the English. Awesome. Thank you. And I've read a couple. I happen to know Mickey, and I read the story that he helped write.
Right.
And it's good stuff, all of you listeners. So take it from me. Even if you've never read manga before, definitely recommend just checking this out because they're interesting, they're entertaining, and they're also, of course, biblical stories that have real truth to them. So it's such an awesome ministry that you guys are part of. We talked a little bit about this with Mickey back when we had him on our podcast a few weeks ago. We talked a bit about Japan and just the mission field overall. So if you guys want to talk about that, we can engage in that more. But right now, I'd like to ask just if you could share a little bit about your journey into the mission field and how you and why you chose to pursue this path.
Sure. Should I go first or you?
Maybe you go.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Technically, I became a missionary first, but she's from Japan, so she's been there longer. But yeah.
Local missions.
Yeah. I first went to Japan over 20 years ago now when I finished Bible college. I studied youth ministry in college and so didn't expect to go overseas. But just during my time when I was searching for a ministry opportunity after finishing school, an opportunity to go to Japan came my way. I had actually posted my resume on a youth ministry but job board online, which was a new thing to do back then. But a guy in Japan contacted me, and we emailed back and forth, and he offered me the job to come and work at his English school as a Christian guy looking for Christian teachers. And after some prayer and consideration, I felt like God was leading me to go ahead and take that job, even though it's not the kind of thing I was looking for. And so I went and had a great experience. It was just a year contract, but really through that experience, God really gave me a heart for Japan and for missions. And so about 4 or 5 years later, in the end of 2007, I went back as a full-time missionary with Global Partners. And then, so I've been in Japan for about that long, 16 years. And Yoko and I got married about 5 years ago and just started this new ministry over the last 5 years. So up to that point, I'd been doing a lot of more traditional church-based stuff, English teaching, and some youth ministry, preaching, music, stuff like that. But English ministry was my main focus during that period, and it was a good outreach tool. But I'd always been an artist and grew up wanting to be a cartoonist, wanting to make comics, and so out of that passion and seeing the need and seeing how big a part of the culture that manga is, that's kind of where that vision came about. And then we got married, and Yoko joined me on the journey.
2 years ago, when we were in Canada, in his parents' house, he found his old comics.
Oh.
That shows inside his heart. You can explain about that.
Okay. All my old art was left over here in Canada. So when we were visiting last time, I was looking through some of it, and there was this old comic I sketched out and never finished in my sketchbooks that I drew around the time I finished college, before I knew I was going to Japan, even for the first time. And it was kind of illustrating my inner struggle to find my path in life, and on part of that, it was the struggle between feeling called to ministry, and also being an artist, and feeling like I wanted to use my talents and gifts as well, and feeling pulled in two directions, which is something I felt my whole career basically. But this is way back before my career really started. I had written this, and I kind of visualized it as two different versions of me, and they fought each other. But in the end, they kind of melted together into one. And so even 20 years ago, I was kind of feeling like at some point God was going to lead me to a ministry that involved ministering through the arts. And so I guess in the long run, Drawbridge Creations is the fulfillment of
it's a great way how it connected in the end.
Yeah,
Got them both together.
I think, until a couple of years ago when I found that in our stuff. I'd forgotten all about it, but there it was.
Yeah, so the ministry you're part of is called, the ministry you founded is Drawbridge Creations. That is the name.
Yes.
And Waypoints is the website that you post the things on.
Yes, Waypoints is a series of stories.
Oh, the series. Okay.
Yeah, our first project.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, the website and the project is Waypoints, and it's a series of stories based on scenes from the Gospels. So stories about Jesus, but each one is told from a different character's point of view, and shows how they encountered Christ and how their lives were changed. And
Moving to the next question, then, I'm just very interested, we all probably are, what would like a typical day or a typical week look like for you as missionaries in Japan?
That is a very good question. I'm very curious about this.
Yeah, I'm not sure there is a typical day or week. What would you say, Yoko?
Typical day. Yes, sometimes we have online meeting with people who are in North America, and we have sometimes we have meeting with Japanese people, Japanese artists, for making comic. And and sometimes we how can I say? Explaining is difficult, but typical day.
There is no typical day.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah, but as you can imagine, it's not a typical kind of ministry. So it's not like we go into an office and have, like when I was teaching English, I had 5 or 6 classes a week, and I used my other time to prepare, and did a lot of church ministries type stuff. So it was a lot more interacting with people and kind of typical ministry stuff. But yeah, nowadays with this ministry, it's a lot of, we work from home, and so there's a lot of time spent just running this whole ministry. That there's the art and the story, of course. I'm one of the artists and one of the writers. Yoko does some writing as well and some translating. So there's those kind of things to do. And we both kind of are editors. So we work with different artists who are adapting our stories into manga form. And so there's back and forth with them about the details of that. And Yoko does accounting and stuff like that. It's boring to talk about.
Sometimes Robin needs to fix our website.
Yes, I run the website and social media as well. So it's a lot of juggling very different things. And then of course we do have some church work that we're involved in as well, music ministry and stuff. But mostly it's those kind of running the website and creating content and stuff like that.
Communicating with local pastors.
Yeah, kind of along those lines, how do you what's the best way for you guys to like connect with other churches in the area? So I know, like, obviously Japan is not a heavy Christian place. So like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you find, like, what is the best way that you make connections and get to know other churches so that you can promote your ministry?
One of the big things is Global Partners has long historical partnership with one Japanese denomination. So so that help us to connect with local churches in our area.
Yeah.
And
That's one.
That's one.
So the denomination that we're connected with, that's
Yeah.
because of our long history, and they know who we are. Even if they don't know us personally, they know our mission. And then we're also connected with there's a missionary network in Japan Evangelical Missionary Association. So we use that network to promote our work to the missionary community, and that connects with the broader Japanese church community as well. And they, stuff like that, and showing up at events and stuff.
Yeah.
Promoting our ministry.
And I am an alumni of seminary in Japan. So through my friend and I worked at the seminary as a staff after graduation. So I have missionary connection and pastor's connection through that seminary too.
Yeah. So a lot of word of mouth and using our existing connections. Stuff like that.
Figured it was something like that. I was like, yeah, it's definitely probably relational.
For sure.
based.
Yeah.
The network, the connections. That's good.
Yeah, those connections are good to have because, like, as Drawbridge Creations, we're a new ministry, and most people in the church community would not recognize us right away, and as that. So having those inroads through the denomination, through pre-existing networks in the missions community, it's very helpful. Otherwise, we could just be a cult or something for all they know, right?
Yeah. So we applied and get the endorsed ministry.
Yes, we're an endorsed ministry through the Japan Evangelical Missionary Association, which they're well known in Japan in the church community, so that helps as well.
I just want to continue off of that, talking about your connections and the churches and the denomination that you're all partnering with. How has the acceptance of your specific ministry been? I mean, knowing that manga is such a huge deal in Japan, has this have the Japanese churches that you've partnered with in the denomination been like, oh yeah, this is awesome, we need this, or did you have to more work to try to be like, no, this is an expression to share the gospel?
Yeah, I think the reaction has overall been positive. It's been slow to get the word out. I guess that's what I would say, but yeah, most people seem to appreciate what we're trying to do. Maybe some of the details they don't quite get what we're trying to do. So I guess the one thing is when we tell people we're doing manga ministry, they sometimes make assumptions about what kind of ministry that looks like, maybe because it's never been done in this way before. Some people assume it's for kids or creating curriculum for Sunday school or something
okay.
But we're actually, with this project anyway, we're aiming at a young adult youth kind of audience, and primarily reaching out online to a non-Christian audience. So just making sure people understand who our target is and how they can use that in their ministry. Something we've had to clarify a few times.
Yeah, it takes time to
certainly
tell those stuff.
Yeah. We're not the first people, of course, to do Christian manga, but we're the first, I think, to do this kind of ministry around the manga. So
okay.
Yeah, actually, what made me think of that in the same vein, I was talking to Thorin before we started the video. I think a while back, I think it might have been I think when it was announced Mickey was going over there, it was an article about, they were actually talking about like Christian manga ministries. And it was interesting because like I could tell it was more like a secular American art. I could tell it didn't come from Japan, because
Right.
their basically argument was that it's like disingenuous manga because it's gospel focused. And I was wondering, like, have you had any perception of that in Japan? Like, do you have Japanese people who are like, oh, this isn't actually manga, like what is this actually about? Or is it just kind of like, oh, this is a cool way because you're incorporating to this into something that is a part of our culture?
Yeah, like I say, I think mostly the reaction's been good. I'm not sure how it's being perceived outside the church, because we haven't gotten a lot of feedback on that front as far as how non-Christians are reacting to it. But from within the church, they seem to get it and appreciate what we're trying to do. And yeah.
Yeah, some Christian mentioned, oh, I have never had that kind of perspective. Yeah. So we try to express new perspective of the Bible. So because each story in Waypoint focused on minor character perspective. So yeah, sometimes for Christian, it's helpful for saying to Bible with other with different side.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in our mind, we are focusing on non-Christian reader actually.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Can you share with us in the time that you've been working with this ministry with Drawbridge, and then the time that you created it, can you share one like particularly memorable or impactful moment that you've experienced starting this organization?
I don't know if I can narrow it down to a moment, but yeah.
Experience, story. Does it? Yeah, maybe not a moment,
Right.
but
Yeah. Well, there's lots of little moments along the way, I guess.
Satoshi?
Yeah, I was thinking about him. One of our artists is a young Christian guy. He probably I guess he's still in his 20s. He just finished college a few years ago. And I think our work was basically his first professional work, the manga that he was drawing for us. And so he was kind of the least experienced and needed a little more help along the way to get the story into the shape we wanted him to. But we've been really able to see a big improvement in his artwork as he's worked with us. And he also stated when we asked him about his experience working with us, that he thought it really had helped him to grow in his faith, because as he's trying to visualize these stories and put them into manga form, it forced him to kind of think of the story from the character's point of view and kind of imagine how they're feeling in a way that he hadn't done before. And he said that really helped him to grow in his faith. And he's now in seminary.
oh, awesome.
Very nice.
Studying to be a pastor. And so I don't know that we can say we had a big impact on that decision or whatever, but it's been cool to see him growing in his faith and as an artist. And that's kind of one of our purposes as a ministry, is not just to reach out to the lost, but to resource the church, as we talked about, but also we want to encourage and empower Christian artists in their artistic journeys as well as their faith. So it's been cool to see that happening.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you for
Very cool.
sharing that. That's good. Awesome. That reminds me of something else I was meaning to ask that I've just been wondering about. Are all of the artists, because you don't do all the artwork yourself, are all of the artists, are they all Christians that you work with, or they are okay?
Yes, they're all Christians, and we're trying, like I said, to empower Christian artists. So that's one way that we're doing it. They don't work for us full time or anything. They're kind of on a contract basis for each story, and we pay them a page rate for that, and hope that helps them to further their careers even a little, and that we can encourage them on the way. But yeah, we've had the privilege of working with some really great artists, and we're glad to see the results that we're getting from them. I learn a lot just from writing the stories and working with them, and yeah, that's been cool. It's been a good experience.
And our artist, we have 7.
I think
7 artists.
Okay, 7.
Right,
Okay.
we have, and so after we make scenario, we have some kind of imagination about the story, but each artist made, of course, differently. So when we receive the first draft, kind of, it's fun. Wow, this artist expressed like this. Yeah.
There's certain artists, just like, when you give them a script, you're going to get back something that's unexpected. Like a good artist will, accurately portray the story that you've written, but also kind of elevate it or bring something unexpected to it. And yeah, we've seen that happen a lot, and it's cool to see. Sometimes we have to go back and say, this isn't quite what I meant, but
Sure.
that's on us as the writers, I think, to communicate properly. But they've all done really well. And it's been cool to work with them.
That was awesome.
Yeah, something I've just seen from looking at your stories on the website is how everyone has a different style, basically.
Yeah.
And that's something that I dabble. I'm not an expert. I dabble in reading manga myself, and I've just seen how that even all the most famous stories, they all look slightly different, or some cases very different.
Yes.
And I just really appreciate that. I find that really just cool and remarkable. Whereas a lot of more Western comics are in the more general mainstream style. So
yeah. So it's been a cool creative experience for sure.
I think 2 more major big questions, and then maybe a couple fun ones at the end to please my own curiosity and Pastor Michael's as well. But question number 9, which we haven't had 9 questions. I don't know why I said that. We'll edit that part out. Anyways, what are some long-term hopes and goals that you have for your ministry?
You can explain that.
Okay. She's telling me what to say.
Understandable.
You know what the goals are.
Yeah. Well, right now, as we've just shared, our first project, the one we've been focusing on so far, is Waypoints, which is these Bible-based stories. But our long-term goal is, a couple things. We want to do stuff in print as well, like full books. Just because, if nothing else, it'll look cool to have them on the shelf. But I think too, it'll reach a wider audience and maybe hopefully generate some income. But another thing is, Waypoints is just one project of kind of a bigger vision of where we might have different kinds of stories on various projects on various platforms to try to connect with people who are interested in different kinds of manga and perhaps at different places on their spiritual journey. These stories are obviously very overtly Christian, very biblically based, but some of our stories may be something that deals with social issues, or might be a fantasy or sci-fi thing, but with themes that help us generate curiosity and prompt conversations about spiritual things. So I kind of picture it as a bridge.
Okay,
That's why it's Drawbridge Creations.
Gotcha.
And we're trying to build a bridge from, not interested in the gospel, not interested in Christianity, to, connected with the church and becoming a Christian ultimately. So each project might be in a different place on the bridge, but hopefully kind of push gently push people across the bridge towards
Mhm.
faith in Christ. So the bridge strategy is kind of like, not everybody's going online looking to learn about Jesus or whatever, but if we can be the thing that they're actually looking for, then we can connect with them that way and point them towards the hope we have in Christ. And so, yeah, that's kind of the ultimate goal. Multiple projects that all kind of are different stages of that journey, different parts of that bridge, I guess.
That's awesome, and I love hearing like the possibilities of stories, like unique fantasy stories or sci-fi that aren't, explicitly Christian, but have strong Christian themes to like generate interest and kind of pull people in. The stories that I like most are ones that I do recognize I see gospel themes in, even if the authors are not Christians, and which many of them, presumably most of them probably aren't. But the fact that from writing from an explicitly Christian perspective, and like God will use that. He'll absolutely use that. And hey, maybe in 5 or 10 years, one of your print stories will have an anime adaptation.
That's next level right there.
That would be next level. That would be next
Yes.
level. I gotta say, okay, one more. I mean, they're all serious questions. We all want to know. This is serious business, of course. This podcast. I've been pondering this question for a while, and I meant to ask that to our other missionaries, and I did not. But for both of you, and Yoko, you may have a different perspective or a unique perspective. What would you say is the most beautiful aspect of Japanese culture to you?
Oh.
Most beautiful aspect of Japanese culture for me,
For both of you.
or both of
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. Maybe one thing now I imagine. If I focus on the difference between North America and Japanese, maybe Japan is small island and various things is much smaller than here. And maybe because of that, I don't know why, but Japan has the culture of mottainai. Do you know the word? This word is used in international ecological person. And Japanese people usually want to avoid throwing out. So
I got you.
and so the idea is affected on some artistic things. So kintsugi. So can you explain that?
Kintsugi? Kintsugi is an art form in Japan where they take broken pieces of pottery and they repair them and glue them back together using gold. And so the end product, it's from a broken piece of pottery that could be thrown away, but the end product ends up being more beautiful because it had been broken and repaired than it was originally. So you have these cracks in it that are filled with gold, and
I'm seeing some spiritual implications there.
yes,
that could preach.
You're not the first
That could
person.
preach,
You're
that's for
not
sure.
the first person to point that out, but yes.
Yeah.
So there's finding beauty in brokenness, in things that other people would think is garbage. It's a beautiful art form and a beautiful thought as well, as you can imagine.
I like that. Okay.
Thank you for sharing. It's good.
How about for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Well,
So
you took a
different
good one.
perspective.
Yeah. Well, that's one. I think what I love about Japanese culture is the simultaneous embrace of the modern and the new, while also holding on to the old traditions. Hanging on to old traditions isn't always good, but for example, the art forms that have been handed down for centuries are still practiced and still embraced and enjoyed today, while also, creating 200-mile-an-hour bullet trains and robots and modern anime and stuff. So it's
All from the Lord.
yeah. That mix of the ancient and the modern is really interesting to me, and again, how they preserve those ancient art forms while embracing these new things is really beautiful and interesting to me.
That's a good one.
That's really good. Yeah. I remember Mickey saying this, and I don't mean to repeat myself for our listeners too much, but he said one of the things that struck him most, and kind of similar to what you were saying, Yoko, was how just economical with materials the Japanese people tend to be, the cultural shift that so much less waste, at least, than we have here in the United States, which is definitely something to admire as well. It's like we produce so much here in the States. Crazy. That's a discussion for another day, though. Right. Well, we are about done. Pastor Michael, did you have a personal question to help our listeners learn more about Robin and Yoko, and also satisfy our own curiosity?
Oh, I mean, sure. I mean, obviously, doing a manga ministry, we have to know, like, do you guys read any manga? Like,
Yeah.
what is like any recommendations for us people over here in the States?
Yeah.
We can find. Put us on. What's the new hotness of manga over in Japan right now?
I have to confess, I'm not up on the latest things.
The classics work too. That's all right.
The classics.
Oshinoko. But
Okay,
I try to check English title now.
Thank you.
She's doing some Googling.
Okay, I gotta get my
But
pen.
when Mickey took us to some comic shop in Michigan.
Oh yeah, nice.
I found the most popular comic in Japan now.
Oh, we know it's here.
Comic shop in America.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially among my generation, manga and even more so anime, I would say, is super it's mainstream by now in the United States.
Yeah.
By far the most it's ever been in the U.S.
Definitely, it was definitely different when I was growing up.
So I think My Star.
Hold on.
I gotta write that down.
I'm getting my notes.
My Star manga. The life of Aquamarine, a popular idol in her. Interesting.
Yeah.
You're already getting the synopsis and everything.
I think you can read this. You can buy these comics in States.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I don't go to many bookstores anymore, but when I do, if there's a manga section, I go right there. Even though.
There you go.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. My Star.
My
is
Star.
the latest. You want to be cool.
Yeah, only first episode I read, but it looks like fun. Interesting.
It is a seinen, which, as I know, is more young man. I believe that's the actual translation or one translation. It's basically a target audience of 20 to 30 years old, approximately, something like.
Yeah, young adult range, I guess.
I don't mean to be talking like I'm an expert. I'm not. So you guys correct me. Correct me if I say anything. But like a lot of manga is is categorized by genre, but also by the targeted age range, and is even known by that. So shonen, which is the one that's most popular in the West, here in the United States, I mean, shonen is for teenagers to young people, men specifically, and then seinen is slightly older age range than that.
Yeah, he knows.
Like I
You
said,
probably know more than me.
I mean, I'm a big nerd. I've gotten very into shonen anime, especially in the last few years. Pastor Michael is a big fan
Shonen
as
is
well.
king. Okay.
Shonen,
Yeah.
I'm a shonen guy through and through. But
Yeah. Even in Japan, I think shonen is probably the most popular category because that's
Believe that.
the biggest group of readers, I think,
that makes
for
sense.
manga. But yeah, there is something for everyone.
Certainly.
I'm more familiar with kind of some of the older stuff.
Gotcha.
Big fan of Nausica, Nausica. I don't know, right? It's Nausica in Japanese, but
Nausica.
Of the Valley of the Wind.
Nausica of the Valley of the Wind. That was originally a manga before he made it into an anime. Although the manga is a lot longer. And
Oh, okay.
The anime is really only based on the first part of the manga.
Interesting.
Because I think he was still making it when he made the movie too. I don't know the whole story.
Got a movie too? Oh man.
I mean, that's a shame we never got another movie, because I've watched the movie and it was good. But I would say my primary critique of Nausicaa, the movie from 1984, is that I think the pacing was a little off, especially in the second half of the movie. So maybe I need to read that as a manga. I didn't know that was a manga.
Yeah. Well, Miyazaki is more known for his anime, but that is one of the few manga things he's done, and it is available in English as well, in multiple formats.
Miyazaki is
He is kind of the GOAT, except for Ichiro Oda, but
we won't talk about that, okay? That's
when you write the best-selling print comic of all time, you can be called the GOAT. Okay, I'm just saying.
Okay, well, those are different categories. Those are different categories. He's Miyazaki's more of an anime guy, so
when you just never end it, then you're going to eventually be there. So
well, hey, there are series that have more chapters that have been longer running than One Piece that don't have anywhere near the same number of copies sold. So I'm just saying, 525 million people aren't all wrong. I'm just saying.
Anyway, that's a different topic.
That's for another discussion. We got to get Pastor Allen on to discuss anime next time.
Oh yeah, that's for sure who the people
want. But I think,
well, Robin and Yoko, thank you guys so much for being on here with us. I know you guys are busy and doing visits and coming back, but yeah, thank you for taking the time and giving us just a glimpse into what you guys are doing in Japan, and it's awesome to see kind of the momentum building with that. So we're excited because, like you said, it's really kind of a new territory and a new approach. So yeah, we're excited to see how it grows, and we know God is going to bless you guys. So yeah, just thank you guys so much for being on here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been great.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I just say, I mean, obviously I'm a nerd, but in just all ways, I think this is one of the coolest ministries I've ever heard of, just how culturally sensitive and appropriate it is. And the work is stellar. Like I said, I've read several of the stories, and it's top notch. So just absolutely. I pray for you. I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing what God is going to use this ministry for.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate your church's partnership with us, and it was great to visit a couple weeks ago, like I said, and we're looking forward to seeing what God does with this in the future.
Absolutely. All right, Thornton, you want to sign us out since you're still technically the host?
Yes, well, I'm still the host. I may have forgotten what I'm supposed to say at the end, but this has been the Most Segregated Hour Missionary Spotlight Part 2 with Robin and Yoko. Once again, thank you guys so much. Thank you all for watching, for tuning in. We will see you next time right here on the Most Segregated Hour.
Beautiful.